Okay, hi Mpho, how are you?
Good, okay?
Good, good. So I'd like to ask you to please introduce yourself, so who you are, what you do, how and why you started your business, and where you're based and how long you've been operational.
That's a big chunk. Okay. Like Mpho Lebethe. I am born and bred between Johannesburg, Brits, Rustenburg. I'm a qualified chartered accountant and an entrepreneur by passion. Probably a little bit for my desire for risk taking, but mostly passion. I started my business in 2017. Officially started business in 2017 and registered. At the time we were doing consulting for small and medium-sized businesses, but that became a challenge over time, which I think we're going to talk about a bit later. And then we pivoted a couple of times, and then in 2019 we eventually started what is now known as the Building Blocks Entrepreneurship Academy, which sits under Building Block Solutions. And we do entrepreneurship education for high school students. For the kids, we love the kids. So we really enjoyed. I think both myself and my partner, Nozi Pompanza, we are very passionate about young people and youth development, and so we do it because youth unemployment is extremely high, and it will probably only get higher. We can't wait for anybody else to solve the problem, and we do it, I guess, also because I think personally for myself, other than the impact outside of myself, it's my desire to create something new that doesn't exist, or that's innovative, or that helps someone. And for someone who was always interested in entrepreneurship, growing up, I didn't have the option of entrepreneurship, getting into entrepreneurship formally or being in programs formally. And so this is something that allows young people who are curious to have that extra something outside of traditional schooling.
Yeah. So talking about your entrepreneurial journey, and you took us back a bit there. How did you say you got into it? Was it something you saw around you? Was it like, I have an idea, this could work in the market? What made you start that journey?
Yeah. There will be people who will contest what I'm about to say, but I started my entrepreneurial journey, or at least my first exposure to entrepreneurialism, was when I was still a lot younger, about 7 years old. I used to charge my uncle for washing the dishes. He didn't want to wash the dishes, so I'd always be like, don't stress. And I was super short at the time, so I couldn't even reach Kozinking, but I'd be like, don't worry, I'm gonna wash the dishes for you, and he'd pay me for it. When I was about 9, I started borrowing my family money. So obviously again, him and my mom and aunts and stuff. And I just borrow their money and charge them ridiculous interest rates. I gave you $50, but when you get paid end of the month, you need to give me 150. I don't care how this is gonna work.
Yeah.
You just need to give me more. And so I always had this thing of what can I get or make out of this that's more than what I've given out. And then just growing up, I saw my grandmother, she worked a full-time job and she did great. She was a mother, she was a grandmother, she was a family member, she was everything. And she also still sold curtains on the side to make extra money. And we sold ice creams, go high, we sold chips, we sold multiple things all the time. And then in high school, I sold muffins to pay for sports activities that we couldn't afford to pay for at home. And over time, it just became apparent that I quite liked that. I quite liked to be like, okay, there's a problem, there's a solution, and finding that to work out well for me. And so at the end of my university, I decided I was going to finish my articles, but on the other side of it was an entrepreneurial journey. At the time, I didn't know how it was going to go, but I knew it would happen.
Okay. So what technological tools are you using or sort of have adapted to that have helped your business to either, grow or pivot?
Technology-wise, we've previously, in the past, we made use of platforms like Asana, just for project management, because both myself and Nozi are in different places most of the time. So we've used that a lot for project management. It's really useful. And there's a free version, which is very important. We've used Canva quite a lot. I think Canva is a lot more popular now. During the lockdown, And then during COVID, we then pivoted. So previously our boot camps were contact boot camps where the kids come to a venue and we do the boot camp over the 5 days in person. And then COVID hit, and then we went, okay. So we went online and we started using WhatsApp, Instagram with Zoom and something called Blue Jeans to conduct our boot camps. And then since then we've actually launched this morning our online learning platform, which we do with Thinkific.
Okay.
So it works a lot better than your typical traditional online courses. It allows you to embed like games instead of just doing quizzes. It allows you to embed like videos and YouTube stuff, and it's a lot more interactive, let's say, than your traditional platforms.
Yeah, because you have to find a different way, I guess, to still engage the students.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you say are some of the challenges that you faced since you've started, your entrepreneurial journey, and how, most importantly, did you overcome those challenges?
I mean, there's a plethora of them, but I would probably say one of them is the side hustle thing didn't work. Like I said, we started off doing consulting for SMEs, and I was working full-time job, Nozi was working a full-time job. We were working insane hours. It just wasn't working. For a service-based business, there was no way we could give our customers the right quality service. And also because you're working over the weekend, but everybody else is working only during the week. So you have to find this weird balance. And I remembered someone, and I guess I learned that lesson then. Someone once said to me, when you treat your business like a side hustle, it stays exactly that, a side hustle. And after that experience, I was like, this person was right. Because it never grew, because we just didn't give it enough time. So that was one lesson that was, I think, quite crucial at the time. And then another one is just the challenge of culture in South Africa, especially because we teach entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not as popular in South Africa as it is in other countries in Africa, as well as other places in the world. So having to convince parents that entrepreneurship is important in a country where youth unemployment is 59% and includes students who are graduates has been a challenge, because the elder generation is like, go to school, get a degree, find a job, stay in your job, which is fair given where we come from. But going forward, we need to find ways to help young people enterprise themselves, and that's still something that we have to work on intentionally, I guess. And then the last thing, which I won't go into detail about, is just how risk averse the culture is as well. So in South Africa, and I guess having been exposed to other places outside of South Africa, we are a lot more financially risk averse. Businesses have to show huge traction before we can actually invest in them. Accessibility to pre-seed funding that is sufficient for you to build something is often a struggle, especially for women. So yeah, I don't know what the answer to that one is. Personally, for us, we've gone outside of the country to pursue other opportunities, but we want our company to be fully South African.
Yeah.
So it's finding that balance.
Okay, so if you could share one tip or advice to other aspirational entrepreneurs that could help them start or even grow their businesses, what would that be?
Try. I'd say just try. Because to be honest, like, if you're not trying, you're never gonna know, right? And I think it's less of a tip for me, but something that I live by is that not succeeding doesn't mean you failed. Just because something you do or who you think you are is not a success according to you doesn't mean, or according to culture as well in society, doesn't mean you failed. So I always think to myself, just try something. If you don't like it, stop it, leave it, and it's okay. And when you don't succeed, sometimes there's reasons why you haven't succeeded, or at least you haven't measured, whatever you're doing hasn't measured in the success that you would have liked. Go back to the drawing board and see what works and what doesn't. When you know what doesn't work, you can focus on what's possibly going to work. So, but if you don't try, then you failed, right? Because you're not showing up. So you have to show up all the time.